Hey everyone, welcome back to DeInfluenced. I'm Sasha, and here is where I dig into influencer culture. 1, so you guys don't have to, but 2, to hold influencers accountable. Oh my gosh, I can't speak apparently. But 2, to hold influencers accountable for their crappy behaviors, because it's not just about drama, it's about the dangerous actions that can have real world impacts on their audience as well as their family. Today, we are diving into the lore that is Nika Diwa, the long anticipated deep dive. And guys, this one's deep. We got our boys in the background for emotional support, and I think I finally figured out why her content is so uncomfortable. We have a ton to cover, so let's go, guys. The pattern that I've noticed as I was doing research for this deep dive is that Nika tends to weaponize her insecurities and her past trauma against her husband and against her children and make herself constantly the center of attention. Now, I feel like the issue a lot of people have with Nika is the fact that she tries to put forth that she's this relatable mom while also rage baiting her content and putting forth stuff that really isn't relatable or shouldn't be made normalized. But we're going to focus on her relationship dynamics, on the cringy content, and on the parenting fails, because those are the 3 overarching topics that all have problems intertwined throughout them when it comes to Nika. And I feel as though that might keep it a little bit more organized because, like I said, there's so much. And when someone is so problematic, but also super sneaky about how problematic they are, it's really hard to organize and get all of the stuff in one spot. So first, we're gonna start with a little bit of a background. I already did a dip the toes dive on Nika. So if you wanna jump over and check that out before starting here, I recommend doing that. The 45 question Q&A, whatever, was very telling about the relationship dynamic, because during that Q&A you can see just how off the vibes in the household are. So from what I can find, Nika has been online and had an online presence for quite some time now. She originally started with a fashion vlog or fashion blog, I believe, and then started slowly going more onto Instagram and sharing more of her day-to-day life, and it shifted more to family content, especially when she met and married Emeka. In that Q&A that I had mentioned, we learned that Nika and Emeka met on OkCupid and are a proud success story when it comes to online dating, and they got married June 16th, 2016. From what I can understand, Emeka has 2 children from a previous relationship who are grown, a daughter and a son, and together they welcomed Zizi and Zuri into their content. Let's be realistic here.
Okay, I'm just gonna get one, all right? It's just one, all right? How bad could one be? It's not that expensive. It's not, well, I mean, I have to get it a friend, right? I mean, who's he gonna talk to? He's gonna get bored. And you know, what if they get sick of each other? You know, they need a third guy. And honestly, I have 3. I might as well get the whole set, you know? I mean, like, why not? I mean, just complete it. I mean,
I want to offer a little bit of a trigger warning. We are going to get into some pretty heavy topics later on in the deep dive. The level of toxicity, it's next level. That's the only way I can describe it. And as you peel back the layers and dig deeper into everything, you realized just how off this entire platform is, and what they're promoting is actually very toxic and very harmful. To start off, we are going to talk about the cringy content that everybody loves to hate. Start off on a bit of a lighter note before we get into the deep, dark, heavy stuff. One thing that I noticed surrounding Nika's content is the fact that she tends to recycle content and constantly. And she also tends to steal content to try and go viral. For example, she reposted the viral video of someone calling her out for stealing the neighbor's baby on YouTube, but when she reposted it, she censored her daughter's face, which I found really interesting because why are you doing that? You don't censor your children. Don't try to act all like good mom on YouTube. We all know that on TikTok you're not. Just saying. I want you guys to think about what audience she's appealing to. This might be the type of crap that she has to deal with on the day-to-day, these types of comments, but posting something like this is 100% rage bait. Why? It is posting something controversial in order to make people outraged. Like I said in the Dip the Toes dive, stop. It's 2024. Biracial families exist. And if you take a 2-second look at her content, you will see that her husband has very dark skin. So for people to actually be making these comments, like, come on. But then you have to think about the fact that most of her content is rage bait. It's put forth to make people upset and to get people to comment. And we're going to talk more about her racially profiling her kids because she's the one who does it more than anyone. You know she's not getting these kinds of comments all day, every day. No. Stop. Nobody believes you. Over the last few years, studies have been done that show that the more enraging a topic is, especially if it elicits anger or sadness, the more engagement it will get. It is what it is because people can't help themselves. And this is why over the past couple years, we've seen a huge boom in rage bait. And as long as people keep engaging with it, these people keep getting away with it. And honestly, I'm so done with rage bait. I think it's the dumbest crap ever. And I think that if you're putting your children at the center of your rage bait, that you should not have kids. That is such a dangerous position to put children in the middle of. We saw it with Nurse Hannah just a couple weeks ago because she built her entire platform to be rage bait, and then when one thing comes up about her toddler, a big thing guys, people catch that one sign of something being off, obviously the internet is going to latch onto it and explode. You built a platform based off of pissing off the internet. I don't understand how people with children can possibly build rage bait platforms. But Nika and Hannah are good friends. So it's safe to say that their content is one and the same. And I got a comment on my Hannah video basically saying that they are two extremely emotionally immature adults who didn't heal their own shit before bringing kids into this world. And you will see that as we go through, because Nika's entire personality is literally using her past trauma and insecurities against everyone else and playing it off as jokes or playing it off as satire or a skit or whatever, but also trying to be this relatable person and make the uncomfortable part comfortable. So which is it? You can't have it both ways. It can't all be satire and skits and scripted and also be relatable. And I really feel like that's what's off about Nika's content, is the fact that she's trying to make stuff like toxic relationships and toxic parenting normalized. And it's not normal, but she's playing it off as a joke, as satire. And you can't have it both ways. It doesn't work like that. You're literally building a super toxic social media platform and you're putting your kids at the center of it all. And her kids are at the receiving end of some of these disgusting, horrible comments without their consent. And for Nika, she tries to play it off as, I'm not gonna let my kids be bullied, I'm gonna empower my girls and all this stuff. Yet here you are allowing people online to bully your kids, to make hurtful, hateful comments towards your kids. And it doesn't matter how much you empower your children or anyone for that matter. If you receive hateful comments, it will affect you, especially if your mom's made it your entire personality. And allowing that to continue to happen and continuing to post your children online is just disgusting. Another thing I've noticed when we're talking in terms of content is trends. She tends to jump on whatever's trending at that moment. What that ends up coming across as over time is someone who's just greedy for attention. It's that clout goblin behavior that we've seen in the past, and nothing is genuine anymore because everything is about virality. For example, when 17 diapers went viral, she jumped on that with her own version of 17 diapers and was fully supportive of it, which can we stop? Can we stop supporting that, please? And there will always be trends on social media. That's what social media is basically built off of, is trends. But the problem with Nika is that she jumps on every single one in hopes of going viral again. There was also the finish your plate. Oh, never mind, listen to your body. And whatever's trending at that moment, she will jump on that seemingly despite what she actually believes in, which is ultimately playing on the trust of her audience because people don't know who she really is, especially people who have been following her long term, who are constantly seeing this flip-flop behavior, this changing. And Nika tries to play it off as, oh, well, we're parents and it doesn't come with a handbook and we do the best we can until we know better than we do better.
You were absolutely right about that. I was wrong. I used to think that that was the goal, to teach your kids to finish everything on their plate because I was taught that, but I'm now putting more emphasis on her listening to her own body cues. Let you in on a little secret. Parents don't really actually know what the heck we're doing. We're just making it up as we go along. We really love our kids. We do our best. When we find out better, we do better.
No, that's not it at all. And I'm sorry if you believed her when she said that, because she's playing you, because she's just saying it because it will get her the views. And she's just jumping on the trend or changing her mind whenever it's convenient for her. She doesn't actually believe this crap. And that's why her content comes off as so disingenuous. And over time, this proves to her audience that she's not genuine or authentic, that virality and relevancy is all that matters to her in the long term. And what's that going to end up doing? It's going to erode the trust that her audience has built in her and end up alienating her audience, and they're going to leave. And those who jump in to her content now, most of them won't go back and look. They'll see a funny skit, or they'll see a relatable moment or a parenting teachable moment and be like, yeah, that. Latch onto that and start following. And it's not until a couple months go by and they start to see some inconsistencies that they'll start to question things. And that's how she hooks people. Because most people, when they find your platform, they don't go back and watch all the old content. They just watch the new stuff and the new stuff that comes out, especially on TikTok, because it's so fast. It's constant. It's multiple times a day. So it's very easy to hook someone in with a well-written skit or a good, solid, teachable moment and not have them realize just how problematic your content is as a whole, if that makes sense. And then touching back on the repetition, she's constantly repeating jokes or little skits that once went viral, like the cheating jokes, which we're going to get into because what? But I wanted to bring it up here because it's super cringy and, in my opinion, draws the line of what should be joked about and what shouldn't be joked about. How far she took those cheating jokes and the content that she made surrounding it all it's too far, and it's extremely toxic. And to promote those kinds of behaviors is problematic. We're going to talk about that later on, but she's done it more than once. First, it was her husband cheating on her with the pizza girl, and then it was cheating on her with the librarian. And then she follows it up with I'm gonna kill him because I'm so angry with him, and then follows it up again. That also shows a lack of growth and a lack of creativity and laziness. Let's be real here. And to top it all off, I'm pretty sure he has actually cheated on her in the past. He made a comment, I believe at her birthday party, "I'm sorry for what I've put you through," and blah, 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 whatever.
I had to go through the fire because I was foolish, I was irresponsible, I was immature, I was careless. And before my family, I have to say it, I'm so sorry for all the years I put you through nonsense.
So making jokes about him cheating when it's trauma that you guys have actually gone through together and I guess worked through is, well, it's a choice. That's for sure. And this isn't even just a matter of recycling her own content either. There have been multiple times that she has directly copied another creator, just changed the caption or changed the word or whatever. When you have a certain type of content, there will be crossovers. Like, I cover the same people that other creators cover, or if something big happens, we're all talking about it. There will always be crossover, but to directly take the same skit and just do it with you or you and your husband, that's silly. I want to touch on some cringy content that is, why is this being filmed? I don't understand how some of the things she posts, she thinks is content, and we need to, as a general collective society, reel in what is appropriate to share on social media and what should be kept private. For example, the 17 diapers thing. Her 17 diapers was, she told her midwife that she didn't bathe for however many weeks after her first, so her midwife came over and gave her a sponge bath, and she's sitting in the bathtub naked with this woman over her bathing her. Come on. Think about this and how this whole scene was set up. Where did she put the camera? And she's recording this. And does the Does the midwife know that she's recording it? Or is she just have it set up and then like the midwife came in and like was helping? Why would you film that and put it on the internet?
Hello?
Zizi, what are you doing? Zizi, what are you doing? What's in your hand? What's in your hand?
I can hear something.
What's in your hand? What's in your Oh my god. Give that to mommy. Give me up, mommy. Give it to mommy.
No.
Why? Can you please give it to
No.
Well, don't rub it on your neck. Don't rub that on your neck.
And then there's so many videos of her parading around in diapers. And I'm sorry, but we need to bring back a little shame and humility in this freaking world, because that's not normalizing crap. That is rage bait. Through and through. It's not normalizing anything for you to show yourself in a diaper on social media. That's not normalizing postpartum. Or to show yourself getting bathed. And I understand sharing these stories kind of in solidarity and not allowing new moms to feel so alone. I agree with that. But to completely overexpose yourself and every ounce of privacy you have, I don't think that it's actually helping anyone. It's weird. I'll say it. I'm not afraid to say it because it is weird. And the lack of shame in these people, it's astonishing. It's one thing to be vulnerable and real and raw and genuine, and it's another thing to take it 18,000 steps too far and parade around in a diaper. I don't understand how that's being real and raw. And then she's constantly posting content about her being overstimulated and basically having an adult temper tantrum, which, again, I understand that overstimulation is a thing. I get very overstimulated with my children being very loud. Noises trigger me. I got that eating thing that triggers me, so hearing people chew is awful. I understand overstimulation as a neurodiverse person. I do. The last thing I would think to do while I'm in an overstimulated meltdown would be to whip out my camera and film myself having a fucking meltdown. That is it's too far. And it seems so incredibly fake, because anyone who's actually going through that knows that you're practically in a panic attack, especially if you've had to exit the room and take yourself away and you're not thinking about pulling your phone out and filming it. There has to be a privacy boundary, and there isn't one with her. And I think that's why things are so uncomfortable, because it's not just a matter of normalizing the uncomfortable stuff. It's oversharing, overexposing, and just it's not real life. Let's normalize going and helping our friends postpartum, going and being there for them, going and cleaning up the 17 diapers lying around the house because they're in the thick of it, so that they're not all alone in a disgusting house. Let's normalize that stuff, not normalize leaving 17 diapers lying around. That's not normal, guys. It's not. And it shouldn't be normal. The toxic behaviors, the toxic relationships, the toxic parenting, that sort of stuff shouldn't be normalized. I don't know. Okay, I'm on a tangent. She's gross. After her mommy makeover, she leaves bloody pads lying all over the floor. We are trying to normalize disgustingness and a lack of basic dignity and humility. And I don't think that is a line that should be crossed. There needs to be a level of privacy. Not everything needs to be content. And that's the dangers that she's building right now, is that everything in her life can be and will be made into content. So what's real? Nothing. Nothing she ever does is real because it's all for the camera. It's like she's running her own reality TV show. But nobody needs to see this. It's unsolicited bullshit being shoved into our eyeballs, and nobody asked for it. And nobody is appreciating this, or maybe some people are, but for the most part, I don't want to be scrolling TikTok and see a picture of or a video of a woman dancing in a postpartum diaper. I don't want to see that. Does it mean that it's shameful to be wearing one or that it should be taboo to go through that stuff? No, but we don't need to overshare on the internet in order to normalize things. All that is normalizing people parading around on social media in diapers. It's not normalizing anything about postpartum or making people feel more comfortable. I don't understand how that is helpful in normalizing postpartum or mommy makeovers or whatever the case may be. But maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just me that doesn't understand how that's possibly helpful. Who knows? But in my opinion, it's purely posted as rage bait because it's shocking, it's gross, it's weird, it's cringy, and people can't help but go back to her content, but give her the view and comment because it's ridiculous. Ultimately, this is just proving that Nika is 100% a clout goblin. Someone who will do anything for attention, who will latch on to anyone to get more attention. For example, Hannah, when the 17 diapers went viral, they made a video right after it. Stuff like that. She is a clout goblin through and through. She always needs to be the center of attention.
So I know traditionally this is usually where we do a father-daughter dance. Your dad is here. He's watching from heaven. Your big brother is going to stand in for you.
Although the parading around in diapers is relatively harmless, right? Everybody has the right to post what they want to post on the internet. At the end of the day, you do you, boo. And who are we to stop her, right? But as we go on, you'll see just how she weaponizes this trauma, these insecurities, all of this cringy content, and how emotionally damaging it can end up being for those involved in the content. And this is more so when others become involved, because at the end of the day, the only ones that are really affected by the cringy content is her, but also her kids when they grow up and get relentlessly bullied in school because this is how their mother acts on the internet. Could you imagine being a kid going to school and your friends saw your mom parading around in a fucking diaper, or constantly complaining about how horrible it was to raise you, or constantly parading around that your dad cheated on your mom? Kids are relentless, and she's not thinking about her kid's future when she's posting all of this rage bait content. She's just not. And this is a problem because it's a lazy form of content. And Nika, don't come for me. You yourself labeled yourself as lazy multiple times. And I know she's clapped back at people who try to call her lazy, which is really funny because she literally said that a lazy day at home is perfect.
Sitting on the couch, Watching movies, just a lazy day is my perfect day.
Anyway, doesn't matter. It erodes the genuineness and the authenticity of content, and it ruins it for everyone else who's trying to normalize the harder part of postpartum, who's doing it in a tasteful, tactful manner. And that kind of mentality, this one bad apple ruins the bunch, is detrimental for those who are building their lives online, who do have genuine, hardworking, thought out content. How do people know that they can trust those influencers and that they're not all just one and the same? But people like Nika ruin it for everyone, especially when you start to look at the people that she's associated with. And then you're like, oh, well, it's not just her. Quickly, it becomes this mentality of, I'm not buying anything from an influencer because they're all shitty. And that sucks for people who are trying to actually put forth good content, who are trying to provide entertainment or education or anything and make a livelihood on social media. Now, before we move on to talking about the relationship dynamics, I want to talk to you about something that's a little bit more serious, a little bit darker when it comes to the cringy content. And we're going to get into this a little bit more in the parenting section, but I want to talk about the dangers of scripting children. So, like I said earlier, at first glance, it might seem like this genuine content, this relatable mom who you can connect with. But really quickly, if you take a look through her content, you realize that it's all scripted, all of it. And while scripting content isn't inherently bad, a lot of people do it. I script my deep dives, even though I end up on tangents half the time and it's just a mess. Regardless, I don't know. I don't know why other people script. I do it for organizational purposes. The issue is when content is put forth as genuine or relatable or real life, that is extremely misleading. And that's where we lie with Nika's content, because you can't be genuine and relatable and real and raw and also scripted and script your content and not be forthcoming about that, right? And no, it's just not expected to like have a caption at the beginning of everything. But she tries to portray her entire platform as this genuine stuff, as these genuine interactions. Even when you see like the teachable moments, it's like she just caught it. My daughter said this and I'm so glad I caught it on camera, or whatever the case may be. So she tries to act like everything is genuine when it is so obviously scripted. And what's worse is the fact that she also scripts her children. She definitely feeds her older daughter lines of what to say all the time.
Mommy, were you wrestling with Guy last night?
Why do you say that?
I heard you say pin me down.
Well, we were wrestling for fun.
Who won?
I won first and then your dad won after.
Oh.
In any given situation. Now, I think that kid is sassy and probably hilarious on her own accord.
How was your day today?
Oh my goodness, it was hectic. Yeah, I lost a nail.
Is this your mommy?
Well, sort of. I call her mommy. And the quality of your work.
Because you're not being careful.
What?
Because you're not being careful. So that's
girl.
not my fault.
Are we going to get this one fixed, yes or no?
That would be extra. You have to take care of yourself.
Oh, girl, I'm trying.
Just do your best, Dad. How's it, Mother?
Similar to stuff, it's like, okay, that was funny and that was a genuine kid moment. But for the most part, if you look at any of the interactions between her and her daughter, the responses from a 2, 3, 4-year-old aren't appropriate for that age. And you can tell that it's a line that she was fed from her mom. When you script children, they grow up feeling that their thoughts and their feelings aren't their own. And their initial reactions to whatever given situation aren't good enough for the camera, which means that they're constantly going to have to be contemplating how to react to something versus just being allowed to react, respond naturally. And it also puts on this constant pressure and need to perform. So they constantly need to be on guard and be performing and be camera ready. And that's not an environment that children should be raised in. That's not a safe, healthy, calm, nurturing environment. And eventually their own self-expression and creativity starts to not feel good enough to them because it wasn't good enough for the camera. These kids don't know what they're participating in, especially if they're being fed lines. And a lot of Nika's content surrounding her children aren't necessarily developmentally appropriate for their age. So not only are they obviously being filmed without consent, because kids can't give consent, but they're also responding to a certain situation without being fully aware of what situation they're responding to. It's basically trapping the kid into saying this for the camera. And that might not be their true beliefs and feelings surrounding that situation. It's putting that adult thinking onto the shoulders of a child instead of the child being allowed to respond naturally. And that's a really sad spot for these poor kids to be in. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if the cringy content is what's working for her and it sticks to like the self-deprecating type stuff, then that's not inherently bad. You know, it gets worse as we go further into it, but her parading around in a diaper, like I said, you do you, boo. If that's what you want to put forth, then fine. Do I think that that's where we should go with social media, where absolutely everything is content and there's no shame, dignity, humility anymore? No, I disagree with that. But at the end of the day, it's her choice. However, we're going to get into the relationship dynamic now and how toxic it is and how this is problematic to put forth on social media. So Nika and Emeka have been open, at least Nika has, about the struggles that they've had in their relationship. And now I want to dive into why it's so problematic to put forth this kind of content and share it with the world, where privacy doesn't matter anymore and everything, including very intimate details of their marriage, is shared. Everyone has had relationship issues. Anyone in a long-term relationship, there's tiffs here and there, there's spats, there's disputes. The big difference is most people in a healthy, committed relationship don't threaten divorce as a way to manipulate their partner. There have been multiple times where she's joked about leaving her husband, about this is finally it, or he did this and it's the last straw. Like multiple times. And if you look at it in the sense of them already not having a super stable relationship, and then she's joking about it and about leaving him and about how she's done, but also saying how their relationship is so it just, none of it makes sense anymore. Even in her comment section, most people agree never to weaponize divorce or leaving your husband against them or use it as a joke. Weaponizing it is one thing, but joking about it is really gross and really cringy, especially if you have had struggles with your relationship in the past. I think that that's a line that shouldn't be crossed. Anyone who's been through a divorce or is going through a divorce, it's not really a laughing matter, and to end a marriage is a big deal. To finally get to that point to decide to end a marriage, and usually comes with a lot of trauma or has a lot of trauma behind it. And it also starts to diminish the seriousness behind divorce and what it means to end a marriage, making light of it or making jokes about it, because at the end of the day, it's not. For an audience that has followed her for a long time, but even those who haven't, who are just like, whoa, too far. Don't joke about that. Like, I get that it's just a joke, but you should probably never joke about this. But Nika will use this as a bid for attention. So this whole, we almost got divorced and the husband cheating, when you think about it in the sense that this stuff happened potentially in real life and now you're making light of it, it's really quite a toxic place to be. And there's no doubt in my mind that Nika is one of the most insecure people on the planet. No doubt about it. And that she does suffer from mental health issues, which I don't know why you're still on the internet if you're struggling so bad, but choices, right? But it makes me feel like she's actually insecure about her husband leaving her, and so she jokes about it and makes light of it because it helps her cope or something like that. And yikes, I hope I'm wrong on that, because if that's the case, that's yikes. But to constantly be joking about this kind of stuff, I don't know, it just rubs me the wrong way, I guess. That's such a dark and toxic mindset to be in. And it blurs the lines between what's just a joke and what is actually going on behind the scenes of the facade that they've built up online. Because at this point in time, they try to say that they're a power couple who has made it through all this stuff. Yet she is weaponizing their struggles and turning them into jokes for content for her social media. She's openly stated multiple times that they've almost gotten divorced.
Oh my gosh, we almost got divorced multiple times. First year of marriage and then postpartum after this one. It was really tough.
And is constantly posting stuff saying, I can't believe this time last year we were almost divorced and now look at us, and, you know, promoting how healthy and strong their relationship is, while simultaneously joking about leaving her husband or joking about her husband cheating on her. So again, it's taking trauma that has happened to them in real life and using it for content, but also making a mockery of it. And I don't know, that is something that is really uncomfortable in my opinion. Sharing the harder parts of marriage or the struggles or anything, that stuff isn't inherently bad, right? We can all be open there. The problem is Nika takes it way too far because she shares absolutely everything. On the surface, this may seem harmless, but as you dig deeper into it, the reality is that this is a very toxic standpoint to take and to have. And at this point, her fans are even calling her out, saying, don't joke about divorce, don't joke about leaving your husband. And in the grand scheme of things, she is an influencer with influence over people, and her making a mockery of all these topics can become problematic for tons of reasons. First, you have the emotional impact that it can potentially have on the partner. Now, I'm sure Emeka is in on all these jokes, which I don't know why he would be, considering how toxic their relationship has been, but who knows? Maybe it's just a business arrangement now and they're together for the camera, not for any other reason other than that, right? But with her constantly feeding into this notion of like, my husband did this wrong or my husband messed up, it can quickly lead to internalizing those feelings of I'm not good enough or I'm not enough for my wife. And again, he's probably in on all the jokes, but at the end of the day, it's just a really weird and uncomfortable dynamic to try and say that you have such a strong relationship, but the bulk of your content be jokes about how awful your relationship is or how awful your husband is. And I feel like that's where the disconnect and the weird vibes and the discomfort comes from with a lot of people who are starting to wake up about Nika. On top of all of that, we have kids who are involved on this platform who are going to grow up and see the jokes that their mom made about their dad. The girls are small right now, but they're smart. And kids can pick up on energy much easier than adults can. So they feel those toxic, strained relationship vibes. We're going to get into it more in the parenting fails section of them staying together just for their kids and how that's problematic. But I wanted to mention the girls here because as they grow, they are going to pick up on those vibes. And furthermore, she's giving the bullies all of the ammo to weaponize against these little girls. These kids are going to be in school one day and they're going to be bullied for the awful content that their mom puts forth. And it doesn't matter the amount of empowering you do to your daughters, they are going to be affected by the bullying. And they have this stance of they're staying together solely for the girls, which is super toxic and not okay. If you are having more bad days than good days, then staying together for the sake of the children is an extremely irresponsible decision. Because at the end of the day, having two happy, healthy parents who are separated is so much more stable and so much better for the kids than having two parents who hate each other, who never talk to each other or show affection. And if you think about the impacts that this can have on their audience, especially the young and impressionable audience that they have, well, that's not okay. You're promoting such a toxic relationship dynamic and this idea of staying together for the kids. That's not a healthy dynamic to promote to the mass public, because at the end of the day, they are influential people who are going to alter people's perception of relationships and healthy relationships or what to expect in a relationship. And that's where influencers need to be responsible with the content that they put forth. What this does is it takes that trust that the audience has built in this couple and spits and stomps on it. Nika's like, "Oh, your trust? Thank you. I appreciate it. We're going to throw it over there for now." Because to say that you're in such a healthy, happy relationship while simultaneously joking about divorce and constantly leaving him, and also sharing that you almost did get divorced and were super toxic, that's confusing AF for anyone. And if you think about her children being at the center of all this chaos, like, oh my gosh, what? What it shows is a huge disconnect between the private reality and the public perception of them. And putting forth all of their dirty laundry and leaving nothing private opens the door for scrutiny. And in a relationship that's already toxic or rocky, that's not a good place to be. Influencers need to be responsible about the real world impacts it can have on their audience, because at the end of the day, without an audience, the influencer is nothing. But there's a much deeper impact to posting these kinds of inconsistencies. Constantly joking about stuff that's really heavy and strenuous on marriages and relationships starts to normalize divorce and cheating, and it starts to diminish the seriousness that is behind those things. And in my honest opinion, I think it's promoting a super toxic and unhealthy relationship dynamic. Because if your first thought is to leave your partner or run away from your partner every single time you have an argument or a bit of a tiff, well, that's showing your own level of insecurities and also your insecurities in the relationship. Oh, well, yeah, he did this, so I'm just going to leave him for that. That type of mentality isn't okay. With divorce rates being so high, I don't think we should be here joking about it and making it just like a laughable thing. It's not. It is a serious decision to end a marriage. And there are very valid reasons to end a marriage. But her joking about these dumb things that her husband did that mildly annoyed her and joking about just calling it off, I don't know. It's just not okay, in my opinion. And for it to be constant is really gross. For women who are currently going through divorce, these kinds of jokes can be seen as really insensitive. And while it's not her job to cater to people and to the individual's needs, it is something to be mindful about when you're constantly putting forth this kind of content. Because at the end of the day, it's not relatable content. Because most people who have a spat with their spouse don't immediately jump to divorce and then run on TikTok and make a joke about it. Like, do you see where the disconnect is there? And overall, these kinds of jokes, especially with how constant they are, can allude to what's going on behind closed doors that's kept private, I know, shocking, from the audience. It's not just the jokes that aren't okay, but it's the promotion of these toxic traits and toxic behaviors that Nika tends to do. We're normalizing stuff that shouldn't be normalized. So let's talk about some toxic traits that I was able to pick up on. Both Nika and Emeka can be toxic AF.
We listen but don't judge. I'm often in the habit of going to Target by myself with your credit card. And it makes it look like you're spending too much.
We listen but don't judge. Is there anything else you want to say?
2 years ago, when I said your dad's car was in a hit and run, I accidentally hit your dad's car. There was no damage to my car, but it really jacked up your dad's car.
Are you being serious right now? We
listen and don't judge. You know how I said that Roman ran away? I was on a walk with him and I didn't have his leash. And some guys were playing basketball and I had to play that basketball. I turned around and he was gone. I didn't know he was going to be
lost my dog?
Gone forever.
So you lost my dog?
We listen, we listen, right?
And we don't judge!
And I don't think that this "we've come so far and we're so happy" is actually genuinely what's going on. I really, truly don't. What we talked about before about the whole fact that Nika, weaponizes her insecurities against everyone. That in itself is an extremely toxic trait. To use your past and your insecurities against your partner isn't okay. Because at the end of the day, it's not them that hurt you. It's the other guy that hurt you and messed you up. I can understand having that trauma, having those triggers and stuff like that. She uses it against her current partner. And one big thing that I think is borderline abusive, to be honest, is Nika constantly admitting that she picks fights with Emeka to basically ruin his day and ruin his good time. One super notable one that I saw that I was like, there's no way she posted this, which of course there's ways she posted it. It's Nika. She posts everything. It could be a trauma response, sure. But at the end of the day, it ends up being used as an excuse to be shitty and abusive versus taking accountability and healing your past trauma. And that's not okay ever to do. And that's what I find she does a lot, to be very honest. She will use her past trauma, her insecurities as an excuse for her crappy behavior. And mental health is never an excuse to be abusive or disrespectful or anything towards people. It's just not. Trauma, past abuse and stuff, it's not your fault. It is never your fault, and stop. But it is your crap to deal with. It's your baggage that you have to deal with, that you have to heal from, and that you have to overcome. Because bringing that toxic trauma and baggage into a new relationship and using all the crappy stuff your ex did against your current partner, well, that's just not fair to them. That's not even giving them a chance to prove to you that, they're not them. It's not a healthy way of dealing with and healing from your trauma at all. And it's not fair. And it's not only perpetuating all these stigmas, but it's also perpetuating the cycle of abuse. Because rather than heal from it, God forbid heal from it before she brought kids into this world, She's using those insecurities against her husband and against her children. And that's not okay. It's not their fault that you went through crap, and it's not them that put you through stuff. It's the ex's fault. And no, it's not this magical snap your fingers and all the trauma disappears, but she uses it as an excuse to treat people poorly. And that's not okay, and should not be okay, and should not be normalized as okay. And the thing is when parents don't take the time to heal from their past trauma or anything like that, they inadvertently pass on those toxic traits, those insecurities to their children. And that's not fair for the kids to have to own your crap, if that makes sense. And of course, we're all broken. Let's be realistic here. Not everyone is perfect and perfectly healed before they have kids. That's not the point. It's one thing to suffer from those insecurities and to struggle with certain aspects of parenting or be triggered by certain aspects of parenting based on how you were raised, whatever the case may be. But to use your past crap against your children, that's not okay. They didn't ask to be brought into this world. And for you to bring them into this world only to treat them like crap because you're insecure, that's messed up. I'm going to get into some examples about how she weaponizes her insecurities against her children. But for right now, I want to really try and focus on the relationship dynamic of it, because there's so much, right? Like I said in the beginning, there's so much. I've already been filming for I don't know, a long time. This is going to be a long one, guys. We haven't had a long deep dive in a while. It's been a while. So it'll be nice. You guys got to watch to the end. You begged me for this. You got to watch to the end. Talking to you. The level of insecureness that Nika seems to suffer from on the day-to-day seemingly causes her to constantly pick fights with Emeka. And she has openly stated this multiple times before. My question is, abuse is never your fault, but why is that her current partner's fault? I understand maybe not being completely healed when you enter into a new relationship, but you should probably not use stuff that your ex did against your new partner. Right? It's one thing to be triggered by something they do and have a healthy discussion around it, but picking fights because you're insecure, that's not okay. Or picking fights to ruin someone's day, also not okay. And where this becomes a problem, where this gets really toxic, is the fact that she makes him submit to the most ridiculous, unreasonable requests about allegations that aren't even true. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the whole cheating saga. I alluded to it earlier with the cringy content, but 2 separate times from what I can find, she has made a joke about her husband cheating.
I'm in a complete state of shock. I just found out that my husband has been cheating on me with the local librarian. My husband, out of nowhere, says to me, "Hey, we should get a library card." So we've been going to this library for months. This really, really kind, cute librarian, we're gonna call her Stacy for privacy reasons. My daughters love her. I decide on a Saturday to take my girls to one of the book readings for children. After the book reading is over, I pack up the girls when I see Stacy. So I go over to say hi when I'm intercepted by my husband with flowers. And I'm thinking, oh my God, that's so sweet. He never gets me flowers. And then he turns around to give the flowers to her. I am heartbroken. And then I woke up and I wanted to confront him, but it's 4 o'clock in the morning and I feel like that would be really inappropriate. So I was thinking,
just kidding. It was just a dream, guys. Now that could totally be a funny joke. That could be a skit that she could play off. I would probably laugh at that because I was like, oh my God, her husband cheated. She has a whole story time about her cheating. She caught me until the very end where I woke up and it was just a dream. If the joke stopped there, I would be on board with that. But it doesn't just stop there. She continues it after she wakes up, acting as though she's having an actual reaction to this freaking dream. And on the surface, This seems like a harmless, funny joke, right? Like I said, I could get on board with it. Sure, why not? Whatever, right? That's relatively harmless. But like I said, she confronts him about it.
I need to confront you about something. I had a dream that you cheated on me with a local librarian. And I don't know how I'm going to move forward from this. What do you have to say for yourself?
I'm sorry. I'll do therapy. I'm committed to doing whatever it takes to make this up to you.
Stop reading books.
I was actually planning on giving books up. It's only Miss Rachel, maybe YouTube.
Oh, Miss Rachel? You like watching Miss Rachel?
Blippi.
Forget it.
And I think that that is where the line gets crossed, because even her waking up, having like that, like initial, like, ugh, I can't believe that I just dreamt about that. Fine, I can be there with that. But this is not okay. So let's unpack a little bit about why this is super toxic and uncomfortable and not okay, and probably shouldn't be promoted as funny and, you know, funny. Because it's not. It's toxic A fucking F. Which is really funny that I just swore in the middle of AF, which is the F word. Anyway, doesn't matter. So starting with his response, this whole submitting to all of her requests. I think this is where it shifts from this playful banter back and forth and this funny joke to something that's super toxic and unrealistic. And it's promoting an unhealthy relationship dynamic. What could have been a funny actual joke morphed into actual manipulation. And I don't think that they realize this when they put this content forward, how toxic it is. She literally took a fictional scenario and forced her husband to apologize for it on camera, publicly shaming him. That's weird. Guys, like, is it just me who thinks that's super weird and uncomfortable? Because, like, that's not okay. But then, furthermore, we have all her unreasonable requests for something that he didn't even do. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to make it up to me? He has nothing to make up to you. What are you talking about? I don't know why people think that's funny, especially given everything else we've already discussed, but that's too far. I'm sure some people will come in and say, oh, it was just a joke, it's just content. The message that it's portraying is really unsettling. What they are putting forth here is that it's acceptable or even funny to manipulate and attack someone over something that didn't even happen, over a serious allegation, something that does end marriages. I hope that's what this is. This is all just rage bait, and that's why they're doing it, to get people to talk about it. But what kind of toxic bullshit are you spewing to your audience if this is the case? It's normalizing behaviors that should never be normalized. Let's be real. And marriages thrive on trust, that and healthy communication and mutual respect, not on this whole guilt trip power play that is played off as a joke. That's not okay. That's where the manipulation and the insecurities start to get really toxic and dangerous. And what kind of message is this sending their super large audience? It's not a good one. And this sort of thing fits into the entire theme of her using her own insecurities against everyone else around her. Instead of actually working through her emotions and her insecurities privately and with a professional, she projects them onto her family, especially onto her partner, from what I have come to gather, at least. And that's just so, like, ugh, man, what's real? Are you guys actually okay? Or are you thinking about leaving him? Or is what you said not true? Or there's literally a pure lack of any type of genuineness in this person. That's just gone. There's no genuine bone in her body. None. Zero. Not even in your bone is genuine. Smallest bone. So let's talk about why this isn't okay. It's teaching her audience many who look to her for relationship and marriage advice and even inspiration, that this type of behavior and this type of treatment is okay, is normal or acceptable. It's not. It sets a terrible example for anyone watching and consuming her content, and potentially a very damaging one at that. And let's not overlook Emeka's response in this, right? Whether genuine or scripted, because again, everything is scripted, this was very obviously a skit. We have to look at what they're displaying and what kind of message they are putting forward. And that's not romantic. It's not cute or sweet. It's showing a dynamic where one person's emotions dictate the entire relationship, and it puts her emotions and reactions to stuff above all else, which is another common thing we see. Mommy always comes first, me, I. It gets to a point where this isn't a joke anymore. It's taken happy wife, happy life to another frickin' level, and it makes no sense in my brain that people would think this is funny. It's not. It's toxic. And I think that's why a lot of people with the head on their shoulders is like, oh, yeah, this is uncomfortable. I don't understand why I'm getting these uncomfortable vibes. It's because they're joking about abuse. They're joking about power dynamics and about manipulation and insecurities. They're joking about the stuff that's toxic and that shouldn't be made into a joke. That's where the uncomfort is. And that's not where the power imbalances stop either. We also have the public fights and her constantly picking fights and disguising it as content. A super, in my opinion, alarming example of her constantly picking fights is this one. She is purposely picking a fight right before he's about to walk out the door to ruin his entire day. That's not funny. That is calculated and disgustingly manipulative. On the surface, it's displayed as a joke. It's just a joke, bro. Right? Picking a fight with your partner on purpose at a time where they're genuinely looking forward to doing something they enjoy is an act of control. The undertone here is, I don't want you to go, so I'm going to make it as difficult as possible for you to leave guilt-free and go and have a good time. And that is not healthy. That's toxic and manipulative and borderline abusive. And when it's framed as a lighthearted joke, it's normalizing that kind of toxic behavior, one that should never be considered normal or healthy in any type of relationship dynamic. I genuinely don't understand how people think that's a funny joke and how she doesn't see it as manipulative, as toxic. Joking about toxic behaviors in relationships, joking about abuse is terrible. You're telling young girls that it's okay to treat your partner like this, that it's okay to disrespect his plans and his mental health and well-being and his joy and happiness, as long as you're happy, as long as your needs and emotional stability is good. And there's a wider implication here, guys. This isn't just a one-off, haha, I'm being a little bit petty. This is a huge example of the overarching theme of her weaponizing her insecurities and trauma to manipulate and control her husband, regardless of if it's truth or a joke or however it's framed. It's what it is. And then there's the public factor to it. She didn't just pick a random fight for no reason with her husband. It wasn't just that. No, she filmed it. She posted it. She's promoting this kind of toxic, negative, awful behavior. And that takes the toxicity to a whole nother level. And by making a joke of this, making it humor or light, She's inviting her audience to laugh alongside this and potentially copy or replicate it in the future in their own partnerships. That's not okay, because it's perpetuating this idea that it's okay to disregard your partner's emotional, mental health, and well-being as a way to assert your dominance over them and control how they live their life. And let's say she did have something to talk to him about here. It shouldn't be brought up to him at a time that he's going out looking forward to something as a way to ruin his plans. If you have something you need to talk to your partner about when they're getting ready to go have a good day with their buddies, that's not the time to pick a fight. That's not fair. That is just straight, I couldn't imagine being married to this person. That would suck so bad. And if this isn't just for content, then this guy is constantly walking on eggshells because he knows that every time he goes to make plans, it's going to be ruined anyway. So why bother even trying to make plans? And then that'll start to alienate him from his friend group and isolate him from his friend group because he's not going to bother, because every time he goes to go out, a fight starts. And his plans get ruined and he can't leave. And because he can't leave because she's crying and fighting and all this stuff. How is that healthy? How is that fair for the partner? And if this is a joke, this is what they're joking about and making it normal and making it okay. So no matter what, it's not funny. And it shouldn't be something that we're normalizing, that we're making into content. And this isn't just happening behind closed doors. It's being filmed and broadcast to millions of people as normal, as relatable. But the truth is, it's not. It's manipulative and controlling and ultimately ridiculously unfair. And by creating conflict where there isn't any and constantly doing so, she keeps herself at the center of all attention and simultaneously robs him of his ability to enjoy life, to go out, to get out and have a good time. And the scariest part about all of this is people look to Nika for relationship advice, for marriage advice, or inspiration. And this is the crap that she's putting forward as funny and relatable when it's super toxic. And someone struggling to set up healthy boundaries in their relationship who's consuming this kind of content is going to have all the more hard time doing so because they'll be conflicted. Maybe it's okay that my partner does do that because look, this person thinks that's funny. So yeah, maybe it is funny that my partner picks a fight with me every time I go out with my friends and ruins my time. So like maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe this actually is really funny. Do you see where the lines get blurred between okay and not okay and how dangerous that can become? So let's just call it what it is. This and even the cheating stuff, it's abusive tendencies being disguised as humor. And that is a line that should never be crossed. We can't be accepting this as normal. We can't be normalizing this kind of treatment towards partners, towards anyone. Whew. Okay, we've dumped a lot on Nika here, but we also can't forget about Emeka in this whole situation. Now, I know she's kind of like the one who facilitates all of this, but he plays a huge part in the content. And at the end of the day, he's complicit in the exploitation of his little girls. And at that, he is also complicit in accepting this kind of treatment as jokes and making content out of it. But there's also been times where people have said that he's rather pretentious and just gives really weird off vibes. And one super notable incident was the Christmas fight video. So I have it pulled up here. I've actually never seen this before, so I'm kind of curious about it because apparently people just like aren't impressed. And a lot of people think that it's super scripted, which okay, fine, whatever. But some people are saying that maybe it's not super scripted. So let's see. If your husband asked if he could skip Christmas Day with the family to watch a football game, how would you react? If he could skip Christmas Day with the family to watch a football game. I don't think my husband would ask that, to be honest. I think he would prioritize Christmas with his family over a football game. But if it was after Christmas morning, like, I don't know, I'd probably be okay with it. We usually have a pretty chill day on Christmas. Actually, it's usually pretty chaotic, but like in the afternoon. But like if you're gonna ditch for Christmas morning, no, screw off. That's not a thing, you know? But okay, let's watch. Merry Christmas season, guys.
Ask if I would be okay with you not being with me on Christmas, first of all, knowing how important that holiday is to me. And 2, going somewhere with your brothers just without me to watch football.
Going somewhere with your brothers without me to watch football. Is he not allowed to go out by himself?
My feelings are extremely hurt.
Well, I'm sorry that your feelings are hurt. I'm
I
hoping that
really thought you knew me better than
I'm
that.
hoping that we can talk and that I can gain a deeper understanding.
It is because that holiday means a lot to me.
Yeah.
Quality time means a lot to me. Togetherness means a lot to me. And so the fact that you'd rather be at a football game knowing, or I thought you knew that about your wife.
It sounds like Christmas is actually more important than me. And that's what it sounds like.
What the fuck is this? Oh my god, it sounds like Christmas is more important than me. I think she's saying Christmas is more important than football.
You're saying Christmas is important than my husband. I do not have a desire to do anything that will either hurt you or deride in any way your expectation for Christmas.
That's it. I have so many more questions. My phone's ringing. Well, I don't know how to react to that. That was not cool. Like, scripted or not, some things shouldn't be on the internet. And what I'm seeing for the first couple comments on Reddit here is they agree. And I also, guys, don't understand, why would you pull your phone out and record an argument like this? Oh my god, that just raised so many more red flags. Here are some Reddit comments so that I can like reorganize my brain. Jesus, why would you pull out a camera and record a very private conversation with your husband to post online? In the caption, she says it's to show people her marriage isn't perfect, which, girl, we been knew. She's totally delusional for anyone. I'm delusional thinking I can read these freaking comments. She's totally delusional for thinking anyone considers her marriage perfect. Yeah, you spew all the time that your marriage isn't perfect. It's very jarring, honestly. It feels so dystopian that she thinks it's okay to pull out her camera and record them arguing. This whole thing is weird and creepy. They're not even looking at each other. She made eye contact with her phone, though. Exactly. Like, gotta make sure the angle's on point. If this is genuine and her goal was to show people that no marriages are perfect, that means that she pulled her phone out mid-argument, regardless of if he wanted to or not, and started recording what should have been a private conversation. What she could have done is addressed it after. My husband and I had a discussion, and it really hurt me that he didn't want to spend Christmas with me. This was his response. This was my response. But no, we're going to film the actual argument. We're going to film this mental breakdown. So again, we're crossing this privacy line through and through. She's literally stripping their marriage of any ounce of privacy. So this guy, regardless of anything, he knows that this woman will make anything content. So even if, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, he's trapped, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Because no matter what he does, she will weaponize it against him or make it into content that makes him look like an ass. Is she a sociopath? Because how can you fake cry, have a fake argument, and make it look so real? But also, kudos for outing herself as toxic. The way she had this fight is gross. Her communication is so manipulative. This is insane. Her behaviors are so disordered, and I don't think she even realizes it. I want her to get real therapy so bad. Marriage is not a replacement for mental health care, and she needs to stop pretending that it is. I completely agree. I think think we need to stop glorifying the people who make content like this. These people who are unhinged are mentally ill and they need help. This content spreads toxic behaviors into people who don't know better from IDK, generational trauma, or abuse, and who don't understand these behaviors are not okay. Exactly. That's what I was saying earlier. Hey, at least they start their airplane TVs together, so basically couple goals. Yeah, legit. Legit, man. How do either of them think this is slay to post? They've either staged it or it's real. If it's staged, they really do look sociopathic. If it's real, they've exposed how awful they both are. Exactly. So that's basically her whole content. No matter if it's staged or real, it's all bullshit because it's all toxic and it's promoting these toxic behaviors and these toxic narratives. She's in an argument with her husband, is brought to tears, and her response is to whip out the camera and post it to influencer accounts. Is that an attempt to manipulate the argument in her favor? It's so ingrained that she can't have a private discussion without hitting record. He's in an argument with his wife about going to a football game on Christmas, and what he has to say is, it sounds like Christmas is actually more important to you than me. Okay, well, sounds like exactly. Well, it sounds like football is more important to him than his family. Exactly. I don't understand how they don't see the logic of it. Okay. I'm so curious what the context behind this whole video is, what it looked like before the camera was on, why he wants to go to the game so badly. Both of their facial expressions show utter contempt and exhaustion with each other, and that's not something that should be started here. Maybe they should bring this up in the next couples therapy session they make a TikTok out of. Yikes. They really thought they did something with this. Emeka thinks he's so profound in the script he's memorized, and she thinks she's opening the door of dialogue with her arguments and showing the world that their life is not as perfect as everyone thinks it is. Yo, if her stans think their life is perfect, like, that ogre left his young children alone to go party or something like that, and she wants to act surprised when he'd rather go to a football game than spend Christmas with his family. Yeah, apparently he has child abandonment charges because he left his daughter, I believe, at home alone as a toddler, unsupervised, with music blaring, and he was pulled over pissed drunk. And then the baby was like later found at the home or something like that. I don't know what happened, but it was something along those lines. And choices. This is how you know everything down to their core is fake. He has zero problem scolding his toddler daughter about, "You understand that's my wife," with her in the background beaming with glee and pride. But when it actually comes to her, he doesn't hesitate to completely disregard her. No respectable husband would dare entertain the thought of leaving his family on Christmas for a football game when he knows how important that is to his wife. Everything they do is for clout. He loves her body pre and post kids. She'd stick with him no matter what, including infidelity. But here they are fighting about a football game and Christmas. There's no consistency. It's all contradictory, and people just think they're so authentic. I thought your reply was on point. Me too. It's refreshing to know that other people see through the veneer of the perfect couple and the perfect family, because it's bizarre to me that this is one of the only online places I've seen criticize them, especially when so many other family vloggers / TikTokers have widespread criticism. There's a ridiculous irony that the stuff people praise them for as authenticity is the act. The real authenticity is in the cracks and contradictions you pointed out. He's respectful and always listens to his wife, but when she tries to tell him something important, he doesn't listen and nods vacantly because she's not talking about sex. That was a skit, but the fact that they find it funny and relatable is telling. She's committed to and loves him, but won't let herself be alone with other men, otherwise she might cheat. She said that. She didn't say that. They love to talk about teaching their children boundaries, but record them while their kid explicitly begs not to be recorded, even in moments of vulnerability. I don't get how people fall for their shtick. Neither do I. This is a really good comment. I think this is real because her fake crying in other videos is not convincing at all. My guess is she wants to record it to get validation from her followers. I can't believe that this is his response though. It sounds like Christmas is more important to me. I'm curious what led to this argument in the first place because it seems like vital context is missing. And it's almost more disturbing that she recorded a real argument. I agree. An argument that is so serious, it brought her to tears. At this point, I'm wondering if she has any friends who are married. She has to know this isn't normal. Exactly. And that's what I believe Jesse and Lily talk about, like the importance of having friends in real life, because you shouldn't be going to TikTok and social media for this external validation, which she constantly does. Yikes. You need to talk to your friends about this, not record it and put it on TikTok. This isn't relatable. It's toxic as And we have the whole public shaming aspect to all of this that we have to consider. She puts this forth as funny and relatable, all of these random happenstances. But when you take a step back and look at the whole picture, you realize just how negative this kind of environment is, especially for their marriage and relationship. And if we circle back to the cheating where she made him submit to her unreasonable requests about something he didn't even do, that creates a super unhealthy power dynamic in the relationship. One partner, female, male, whatever, a partner in a relationship should never feel obligated to sacrifice their passions or things they enjoy to satisfy their partner's emotional needs. That's not their place to do that. And that's not fair to them either, especially if it's to feed into these insecurities that someone's refusing to heal from, refusing to grow from. And if these insecurities are based off of a fictional event, such as the cheating allegations, she won't go around other men because she thinks she'll cheat. And also she said in that video, well, you're going without me and that's not okay. That is an unhealthy level of codependence that I didn't even realize that they had. Someone said like these people are so incredibly codependent and never learned how to live on their own, never healed from their past, and they're bringing all that crap in the most toxic manner into their current relationships. That stuff's not okay. Whipping her phone out and filming it reinforces all the stuff we've been talking about and this idea that her needs come first above everyone else's needs and her emotional stability. And that's not cool. Even when there's no real justification behind her outburst or her insecurity. And while I can agree that moms shouldn't be neglecting themselves, in Nika's case, it is always mommy comes first, or that's my wife, she comes first. Even her picking a fight before he's about to go out, that is her emotional bullshit being put above his fun time, his outing with his friends or his brother. And that kind of leads us into the public shaming of their daughters. There have been multiple instances where she has filmed her smug in the background, all proud of her husband, standing up for her and disciplining their toddler daughter.
If you ask mommy and I say no, whatever mommy says, daddy's gonna stand by that. If you ask daddy, he's gonna say the same thing. He's gonna say whatever your mom says. If you ask daddy something and he says no, if you come and ask me, I'm gonna say, what did your daddy say? Because I trust what your dad says and your daddy trusts me.
So Zizi, you're not in trouble.
You're not in trouble.
Just trying to teach you.
Yeah.
Whatever mommy says, daddy's gonna support. Whatever daddy says, mommy's gonna support.
So you don't have to waste your time. You just ask one parent.
We just cut off your angle of...
That's my wife. I won't stand for this. And while I can agree that moms should be respected and fathers should help facilitate respect towards the mom, that's not okay. It's not okay to film all this and put it on the internet. These kids are scrutinized for their every behavior, and half of the time it could be developmentally appropriate for their age. And yet we have this layer of public shaming and a lack of context a lot of the time, because it's, oh, she was disrespectful to me. And that is shaping how the public views these girls and opening them up to being scrutinized by the general public and having their identities formed and crafted without their consent, and with them having no hand in how that's being formed, or how the public is perceiving them as people, as human beings, because they might be little, but they're still people deserving of respect and dignity and privacy, and they get none of that. And that's so incredibly sad for these little girls. And on top of that, you have a mom who is constantly basically shit talking her daughters, how awful it is, how she constantly has to walk away, how she's always overstimulated, how her daughters are always pushing her to, when they, go to daycare all day. So I don't know how she's still constantly burnt out. I don't understand. Apparently she is. And that leads us into our final section of parenting fails. We covered so much about her weaponizing her insecurities and her trauma against her husband, but she also uses it against her daughters and to parent her daughters. And you start to see how her not healing from her trauma, not healing from her past, bleeds into her ability to be a mature and effective parent. Okay, we're back. Day 2 of filming. I put on the same sweater for you guys, so it was, less of a jump scare. I don't know. But apparently this is a lot more extensive than I originally anticipated it to be, and we have a whole nother very important section to talk about. We're moving on to the parenting fails section. I want to start off a little bit lighter, and we'll build on the terribleness as we go. So the first thing I want to discuss is the flip-flopping and changing of rules that people started to pick up on. One really big one was the you have to finish your entire plate. And originally, this was the rule in her house. And she took her daughters to an orphanage, I guess, to show them gratitude, ? Then just a couple months later, she said, oh, never mind. And this comes back to the jumping on whatever's trending at the moment, because in my opinion, someone who's a parenting influencer who gives parenting advice, who is chronically online, who has more than one child, probably should know that it's not best practice to force kids to finish their plates. I don't know. I'm hard pressed to believe that she just learned that wasn't the best way 2 months ago. For me, it makes me think that she did it, one, for engagement, because she knew that some people would call her out on it. And what did she do? She responded to one of the people calling her out.
You were absolutely right about that. I was wrong. I used to think that was the goal, to teach your kids to finish everything on their plate, because I was taught that, but I'm now putting more emphasis on her listening to her own body cues. Let you in on a little secret. Parents don't really actually know what the heck we're doing. We're just making it up as we go along. We really love our kids. We do our best. When we find out better, we do better.
All of this is engagement. It's more TikToks, and it's also a way for her to get that external validation that she so desperately seeks. She's constantly trying to hear from her followers that she's a good mom instead of, being a good mom. Just saying. And maybe this flip-flopping is genuine. Maybe that super, in my opinion, sarcastic reply was a genuine reply. We do the best we can until we know better, then we do better. Which circles back to, again, I am hard-pressed to believe that just 2 months ago, she found out that forcing your kids to finish their entire plate wasn't the best thing. But if you think about it in terms of the girls and how their entire life is content for their mother, how confusing is that mom is constantly flip-flopping on the rules and changing things up. And if it's all for content, if we come back to that argument that, oh, well, she's just doing it for content, then that's even worse, because these kids end up with zero consistency in their lives and they never know what to expect. On top of always having to be in performance mode because the camera's always out, that's a recipe for chaos in a household, especially when you have little kids. And at that point, it's almost like she's flip-flopping to best suit her needs, not what's in the best interest of her children. And on top of that, we have allegedly all these behavior issues that her husband has to step in and discipline the girls for. Well, why do you think they have behavioral issues? One, they get zero genuine moments with their mom and attention from their mom, and everything is content. So no matter what, their mom's always busy. And then on top of that, she's flip-flopping and changing the rules constantly for them. And she's done it more than once where she's contradicted what she has previously posted. At the end of the day, that ends up not being a healthy environment for the kids to live in, and it ends up being really confusing for them. I can understand that we do the best we can until we know better, and I can be there with that because I agree, parenting doesn't come with a rule book. It does, and every kid is different. So even if you did have a rule book, it wouldn't be a one size fits all. But when you look at the fact that Nika's entire platform is basically to cater to her audience or to go viral, then that's really confusing through the eyes of the girls. And like I said in the Dip the Toes dive, because I did talk about this incident and her response to it, and I got a comment saying, I don't think she was being sarcastic, but her entire platform is giving parenting advice and giving marriage advice. So as a parenting content creator, I genuinely don't believe that she didn't know this, which makes you think that, okay, it is all just for content or virality. And this, there's some cats fighting outside the door. Bro, we might need to let some extra cats in. Look, that guy's like, what y'all doing out there? It's nap time. Mom's filming. He's cute. This, though, in my opinion, was 100% thought out. Even the response was already thought out. That's why she replied to that one comment. Because again, it's a controversial topic. Forcing kids to finish their plate, controversial. Everyone and their dog has an opinion on it. Oh, my parents did that. Oh, my this. Oh, I did this with my first. Oh, I didn't do that with my. Oh, no, that's not right. Oh, whatever the case may be. Everyone has an opinion on food, especially. So she does this because it boosts engagement. And then she can respond with her clapback response. It's all calculated, I'm telling you. That whole flip-floppy part, sure, it might be a little confusing for the girls. It might be, a little chaotic, but that's not even the most concerning part surrounding Nika and her parenting fails. Her entire platform, the parenting aspect of it, is literally a walking red flag. As we've discussed throughout this whole video, the overarching theme that I've come to notice is that Nika tends to weaponize her insecurities and project them onto her family instead of, taking accountability and healing herself. No, it's everybody else's problem to deal with, which is super great. That's super great for your girls. A+. And we've discussed in depth how this is crappy for her husband to have to deal with. And now I want to talk about how this is harmful through the lens of the children. Because at the end of the day, her projecting her insecurities onto her children or discussing them with them isn't helpful. You know the age-old saying, do as I say, not as I do? Yeah. Kids don't follow that. They do as we do. And research over the years has shown us that if we want kids to learn, we have to model. She is constantly saying that she's overstimulated and basically alluding to the fact that her kids are too hard to handle and constantly removing herself from whatever situation and then, filming a TikTok about it.
Sorry.
And although this is arguably better than sitting there snapping at your kids or having a breakdown in front of them, she does also admit that she consistently snaps at them for things that they can't even control.
It's official, I'm the worst mom ever. I snapped and yelled at my toddler for doing something that she cannot control. She is almost 4 and I've been getting really frustrated that she's still not potty trained and I'm still cleaning up her blowouts. I said, everyone else in your class is doing it. Don't you want to be like them? I shamed her for it, essentially. I pulled her aside and apologized. How do you keep from snapping like that when you've just like reached a limit in parenting?
Can I just throw in the amount of oversharing in that video? Because disgusting. That is absolutely disgusting that you would post that to the internet, because now you've just given bullies ammunition to use against your daughter and posted something that's probably in the future going to be extremely embarrassing for her. And the fact that she doesn't see that and doesn't care is gross, because it's all about content for her. She's not thinking of any of the long-term consequences or the mental health effects that it's going to have on them. Them thinking that their mom is constantly annoyed with them, that their mom doesn't love them or like them. You don't think that that kind of stuff is going to affect them long-term? It absolutely is. And when it comes to the overstimulation and the walking away, well, the videos that she posts are of screaming children in the background. And this could just be a sound or an effect or whatever the case may be, because her kids go to daycare. So I don't even know how she gets away with posting overstimulated kid content all the time anymore, because both your kids are in daycare all day, every day. You're at home alone. So I don't understand why this is a thing, but whatever. Apparently, it's what's making her go viral, because if you look at her most recent, this is what a moment of overstimulation looks like, which I was thinking about this yesterday, that's not the thing. As someone who suffers from auditory overstimulation, I got the eating stuff, I got all the things, and 4 kids, they're very loud toys, Legos, all the things. That's not what overstimulation looks like. And stepping on a Lego doesn't cause you to go into an overstimulated rage. It's not the same thing. So now, what I realized last night is she's actually making a mockery of that too. And I don't appreciate that. You're taking something that is a very serious and difficult mental health struggle that a lot of people do deal with, and you're making fun of it, just like the rest of her content. She's trying to normalize this. The sun is about to hit my camera. That's gonna mess everything up, isn't it? But she's trying to normalize all this stuff and doing it poorly. She's misrepresenting everything or trying to normalize harmful behaviors like the abusive behaviors towards her husband. And I think that's why her vibes on her channel so off and why so many people are uncomfortable. Look, it's like I'm an angel. Look at my light rays coming in. Guys, I don't know what to do. The sun's moving pretty fast because I watched the little line on my camera this time that I've been on this tangent. Okay, whatever, we're just gonna leave it. It'll pass. It'll pass in the next couple minutes. Sorry, that was kind of a side tangent, but she got 1 million views on that video, which is astonishing to me, because while I understand that stepping on a Lego is the worst thing on the planet, I stepped on a Lego yesterday, actually. It sucks. Labeling it as here's what a moment of overstimulation looks like, no, that's what an adult temper tantrum looks like. It is on you to be able to regulate your own body and co-regulate with your children, not always walk away from them when they're mid-meltdown, which, circling back to her removing herself because she's overstimulated and then posting her kids screaming in the background. Now, I'm all for you need to walk away and take a breath. If you feel yourself getting overstimulated with a child crying, you gotta walk away and take a breath. I'm there with that. But she doesn't walk away and take a breath. She walks away and films content. So if this is happening in real time, she's literally leaving her children during a time of crisis or meltdown to go and film content, because that is her priority as a mother. And now she's trying to spew this, oh, I'm so relatable. That's not relatable. And sure, this could be staged, but that goes back to the fact that it can't all be staged and all be relatable, real and raw, and talking about the uncomfortable stuff that happens. You can't have it both ways. Why? Because what does that allow the influencers to do? It allows them to fall back on, oh, it was just a skit, oh, it was just a joke, instead of taking accountability for their shitty behaviors or their shitty treatment towards their kids, their spouse. And that's not okay, because if people reach out with valid criticisms, that's what they get to fall back on. And it's like, well, no, because that behavior isn't okay, joking or not. Like the picking a fight with her husband before he was about to go out. I don't know why we're joking about that, and I don't think, in my opinion, that I'm being too sensitive about that. I think that's a really shitty thing to do to someone. Oh, I'm just gonna like pick a fight with my husband because he's going out to have fun with his friends? What? No. And then we have the inappropriate talks that she has with her 4-year-old, her very young child, about her insecurities, about her mommy makeover, about all the things. And I'm with her on talking to little girls about periods and their body and labeling things and stuff like that. Normalizing what happens in your body, because it shouldn't be this big scary thing and it shouldn't be a surprise either. But discussing your various insecurities and everything you're going through with your mental health with your toddler is wildly inappropriate. That's something that you need to discuss with friends, because what is that going to do to your toddler? That's a burden that a little girl shouldn't, or a little child should not have to carry. They are not responsible for the parent's mental health and well-being. And that's the weight that Nika puts on her daughters when she's constantly spewing this, mommy doesn't feel like a good mom, mommy feels better, mommy, and talking about all these big grown-up things with little kids.
I feel so freaking bad right now.
Why, Mama?
Because I dropped the baby. Did you see I dropped Zuri?
Yes.
And when you were like 3 months old, I also accidentally, you dropped off the couch too. I feel so bad.
Actually, what happened? That's not bad. I don't remember it that falling down.
You don't?
I don't.
You promise?
I promise. Just do your best.
She's not actually doing what she thinks she's trying to do by like normalizing insecurities and stuff. No, you need to work through them and model better behavior. The role reversal and the emotional burden are only the first 2 issues with that. You also have to consider the fact that it can create a distorted self-image in the child. If this kid is growing up and constantly having to reassure her mom of her worth or whatever, that kid can internalize the fact that her worth is tied to how she makes others feel, which very quickly will lead to people-pleasing tendencies and crap like that. And it also sets her up for an unhealthy need for external validation. Instead of seeking this validation from her toddler, she needs to build a real-life community to help her work through this. And as you look more and more into her content and you kind of start to put 2 and 2 together, you can see that this woman isn't mentally healthy. And that's where the complication lies, because it's like, okay, well, what's real? What's fake? What's going on? They say they're in therapy, but they're filming therapy sessions. And then you think about the Christmas video that we watched together. She literally whipped out her phone in the middle of an argument. So they can't even have a healthy discussion and a healthy argument without it being posted to the internet. They can't have any privacy. And she posted that likely so people would say, oh no, that wasn't cool, and validate her feelings again. So it's again this search for that external validation. And you can tell she very obviously has no peers to lean on to talk to about her stuff, because she uses TikTok for that. And that's not a healthy place to be at all. And we're already seeing some of the tolls that it's taking on the girls. The next thing I want to talk about is the fact that the girls feel as though their mom doesn't like or love them. And there were 2 separate incidences where I saw that her older daughter was saying, please just love me more, mommy. Please just love me, mommy. Like, that's all I want. I just want some love.
Baby, why are you acting out like that?
I just want to be loved.
They're kind of like scoffing about it, like, oh my god, that was so cute, oh my god, I wasn't expecting that, and you know, getting set up to film a parenting moment during a meltdown, and this happened instead. Yeah, I don't think you realize how awful that is that your child said that. So she's basically withdrawing consent, saying, I don't want to film a parenting moment. Please just give me some love. That is an outcry, a plead for attention.
No. I'm not taking a picture. I'm not taking a picture with that. I'm not taking a picture of that. No, don't take a picture of the duck. It's not wrong with you. It's not the fly.
And it's so incredibly sad, and it's happened more than once. So if this is just content, why is this content that we're supporting and praising and being, oh, it's so cute? A child begging for their mother to love them isn't cute. It's such a sad reality that those girls are living in. These girls have like zero emotional support and stability from their mother. That is so heartbreaking. And it's also alluding to the fact that they know that everything is content, everything is filmed, and that's their mom's main priority over their emotional and mental health and well-being. That's just gutting. So if we break this down further, we could, one, assume that it's scripted, that they told their daughter to say this, right? Or two, maybe this has worked for her in the past, where she just says this and it diffuses the situation, and it also ends up not being, filmed into this awkward teachable moment that she doesn't want. She just wants a hug. She just wants love. She just wants attention. Because every single meltdown or teachable moment is filmed for an audience. So even if she's having a teachable moment that looks genuine, it's still being filmed, and it's still not prioritizing her daughter. It's prioritizing content for her audience. So no matter what, she's not actually present with her kids. And it gets to a point where you have to ask yourself, is this kind of content, the teachable moments, the meltdown content, inherently bad and harmful for the girls? It's not helping them regulate their emotions. It's never about that. It's about what she can film and post to the internet, what she can teach other people, not what she can help her daughter through or teach her daughter in this moment. No, it's always for someone else. And at the end of the day, in my opinion, a child begging for love from their mom, it's not this cutesy moment. No, it's heartbreaking. And it's being diminished because it's so cute, and they're not even paying attention to what's actually going on. And that just isn't fair for the girls at all. And her daughter saying that should be a smack in the face for these parents. Oh my gosh, maybe we're not meeting her emotional needs. Maybe we're doing something wrong. But it's not. It's brushed off, and they move on to the next content that they get to film. I don't think they realize the light that it sheds on them. I genuinely don't think that they see that as an outcry, as you guys messed up here. Your kid doesn't feel loved by you. That's like, yikes. And then it gets even more concerning when you see this.
I don't know you like me.
What do you mean? Of course I like you. Have I not been giving you enough attention? Have I not been with you enough?
Yes.
I have an idea. What if I get you early from school and we spend just a day, you and me?
That would be the best day ever.
Would it be the best day ever?
Yes.
And regardless of if that's scripted or not, I feel like her toddler might have said that, and then she whipped out her phone so that she made her toddler repeat it, and then they could have this moment, which it's like, instead of having a moment with her child saying, I don't think you like me very much, she whipped out her phone and recorded it and made her child perform for the camera. And instead of connecting with her child and getting to the root of why her kid thinks that mommy doesn't like me, no, she made content out of it. And she's seemingly neglecting the depth of that statement. I don't know. It's so gross and confusing for these little girls. Even if mommy's telling her to say this or mommy's telling her these lines, it's like, well, why am I saying that mommy doesn't like me? Wait, do you not like me? And then that conflict is going to start. I don't know. I think it's absolutely heartbreaking that a 4-year-old would say that to her mom. And we already spoke of the other dangers that come behind scripting children in the development of self, but to use a mother's likeness or love and weaponize it against a child for content it's a choice. It certainly is a choice. And when these little moments keep getting dismissed as laughable or so cute, it will lead to an emotional fallout that's going to be extremely hard for Nika to repair when her kids are older. And the fact that they're 4 and younger and already catching on to the only thing that matters to my mom and the only thing she prioritizes is content and teachable moments for her audience, whoa, that's not going to get better as they age. And the just love me during a meltdown, it's already showing that internalization of self-worth that's based on their mother's actions or behaviors towards them or lack thereof. And that's so sad. That's so sad. That's building up a serious insecurity. That kind of leads into the next topic of Nika constantly racially profiling her children. Now, I don't doubt, like we discussed earlier, that she gets comments and crappy comments and has to deal with stuff like that. And the fact that she constantly makes content that focuses on their race or how they look instead of how great they are as children, it makes me think that she's not actually getting these comments. It goes back to all those little skits that she posts about constantly. Oh, I know the thing, so this. Oh, I was in an Uber and I know the statistics. Oh, 3 a.m. and I ordered Uber Eats and a mom showed up, and the diaper thing, all that stuff didn't happen. That's all fake and crafted for engagement, for that relatability. But she's playing it off as genuine. And circling back to the girls' race and their appearance, it's almost like she's posting it as backwards rage bait. So like someone said this enraging thing about my kid, so be mad about it and praise me for being a good mom because I'm standing up for my kids, when it's really her that's thinking the thing or said the thing. Just let the kid be a princess. Who cares? Stop bringing race into everything. It doesn't have to be brought up. A little girl can be Elsa, can be a Disney princess. A little girl can be whatever they want to be, regardless of the color of their skin. And for her to constantly be honing in on that, well, these kids are going to start to internalize that. And it's going to mess them up as they grow. It's going to be confusing for them. And they're going to start to attribute their worth to whatever their mom says about them, or to their race, or to their sense of identity is being shaped by the online presence that they are unconsenting to. And why does she do this? Because she needs to be the center of attention, and she needs that engagement and that external validation from these strangers that follow her on the internet. You're such a good mom. We all love to hear it when it's genuine and when we're genuinely being a good mom. Otherwise, it's like, well, I kind of messed up today, so it's like, you know what I mean? The problem with Nika is she seeks this external validation when their opinion of her parenting doesn't fucking matter. And it's not even a glimpse into her real life parenting. It's curated and crafted for the internet. And apparently it's all scripted and it's all fake, but it's also all relatable. That's why her entire platform is so confusing, and why when people start to realize how problematic she is, they have a hard time placing their finger on it, because seemingly she is this good mom who's trying her best, but realistically, everything she posts is fake. None of it is genuine. But at the same time, she tries to promote it as genuine, as this actually happened. But at the end of the day, who does it matter to, her parenting skills or decisions? Her daughters. And what are her daughters saying and feeling? That their mom doesn't love them or like them. So her followers sitting there being like, you're such a good mom, while her kids are saying, just love me more, or why don't you like me? How is that not a red flag in people's eyes? How? And it's terrifying that people don't realize that people just support her in all of her shit. What kind of backwards ass universe are we living in right now that we're praising this as a good parent, as a good mom, when her kids are literally saying that she's not? They don't feel like she loves them. But that gets played off as a joke, or that gets played off as cute. Her focus being on making content for social media about going viral, that's not the makings of a good mother. She's never present with her kids, like actually fully present with her kids. Why? Because even when her kids are having a meltdown, it's still filmed for the internet. So even when her kids need her to be there, to be stable, to hold them, to co-regulate with them, she yeets herself out of the situation, goes and hides in the pantry, eats some fucking Skittles and calls it a day. It wasn't Skittles. It was Sour Patch. Sour Patch. I love Sour Patch Kids. Yo, if I had a pantry that I could hide in, I would totally go eat all the Sour Patch Kids. I love them so much. I think Sour Patch Kids are my favorite candy. What's your favorite candy? Side note. And at the end of the day, with all of her content being fake or scripted or whatever, and nobody knowing what's actually genuine and what goes on behind closed doors, because we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, the only thing we have is the content she puts forth that we can make inferences from. And when you start to see the cracks and the flaws in what she posts, or the contradictions, or you know, the genuine moments, kind of like the Christmas fight. I also think that that was a genuine moment. I have more questions. And like other people said, we're missing a ton of context. But when you start to see those cracks, you start to see, holy moly, this is problematic. And the scariest part, she doesn't even realize it. Or she does and doesn't give a shit. Right? So I don't know. I think that her seeking that external validation from strangers is fueling her to keep being a crappy parent instead of actually taking accountability, instead of actually healing herself. She's being encouraged that it's normal to feel this way. It's normal to act this way. Just because it happens to a lot of people doesn't mean it's normal. We can't be at a point that we normalize mental health crises and mental health struggles. They exist, yes, but people need to get help for them before they do more harm to their kids. Don't be your kid's first bully. Don't give your children a childhood that they have to recover from, that they're going to have trauma from. And we haven't even gotten to the whole disciplining stuff or boundaries yet. And well, that's terrifying that we haven't even gotten to the worst parts yet. So first, I don't know what their parenting style is, but for her to talk about what's a healthy level of fear.
Sunscreen back now?
No, it's mine.
It's yours?
Yeah.
Can I have it back, please? Zion. One.
Here? Yeah. Have you guys played or no? I have, yeah.
For a toddler, there isn't one. Your kids shouldn't fear you. Fear does not equal respect. And it's not making respectful kids. What it's doing is it's making them sneakier and craftier so that they learn your triggers and learn not to trigger you, but they're still doing the same crap. They're just scared of getting caught. They're not sorry for what they did. They're not learning from their mistakes. No, they're just learning how to avoid getting caught. That's what fear-based parenting does. And then you have super concerning videos that she posts like this.
In the name of Jesus, are you serious? Are you serious? You got the wrong one today. I will rebuke everything in here. The devil.
About these intrusive thoughts about wanting to harm your baby and how scary it is. I'm sorry, Nika, are you in therapy for this? Are you talking to a therapist currently about this? Because this is not something that we should be normalizing. Yeah, it might happen to a lot of people, but posting it to the internet to normalize it so people don't feel so alone? No. That's dangerous. Posting it to the internet and being like, but I'm in therapy and I'm learning how to cope better and blah, blah, blah. Following up with that stuff, fine, I guess. But it gets to a point where it's like, why are you sharing this? Why are you literally sharing to the internet, to a massive audience, that you have thoughts of harming your child, your children? And how are people supportive of that and not concerned, especially given everything we've discussed and the fact that she seemingly dislikes her children and doesn't like being a mom. That's terrifying to know that she has these intrusive thoughts, plus all the other mental health stuff that she has going on, plus every day she's constantly posting that she's overstimulated. Oh, but it's all scripted. Oh, but it's all fake. Oh, but it's all scenarios. But I'm relatable and I'm having little... You see how you can't have it both ways? And do you see how she's able to skirt accountability under the guise of comedy or under the guise of, oh, it's just a skit. It's just scripted. And then you look at the fact that they punish their kids for normal kid stuff, like the video of her daughter being forced to clean her bottles. Oh, she thinks she can keep us up all night, so her punishment is she has to clean her bottles. Now I get it. That's probably meant to be a joke. Sure, whatever. But it's not funny because not only is it super exploitative, obviously, but it's punishing kids and encouraging punishing kids for normal behaviors. Now, is that a big deal? Washing bottles? No. Is that a huge punishment? Is it like withholding food or a spanking? No, it's not. But you're still literally saying that you're punishing your kid for waking up at night, for a typical young child's behavior. And I don't think that that's healthy. We have to draw a line somewhere where it's a joke and then it's not. Personally, I don't think kids should be at the butt end of her jokes because not only is it really gross and disrespectful towards them, but it's making a mockery out of literally them just existing and being, or at the very least, mocking typical normal child behaviors. This is promoting shaming your kids, and that it's okay to shame your children very publicly online as long as it's disguised as a joke. And the biggest problem with that is that children don't know if you're joking or not. Children don't understand sarcasm, which another thing that I talked about in the Dip the Toes dive was this video where she's approaching her child for taking her lipstick.
Where did you find it? Let me see. Okay, first of all, Zion Rose. It looks fabulous.
And she starts off really aggressively. She is being super sarcastic. The problem is children, especially that young, don't know what sarcasm is, and they don't know if you're being sarcastic or not. So to approach a child like that, it's still extremely confusing for them. I have no clue what that lesson was supposed to be, but myself, as a grown-ass adult, was confused about the whole interaction. So imagine how her daughter felt as a tiny kid. And she didn't even follow up with anything. She didn't teach her anything. She just approached her with this serious, aggressive, hey, tone, and then says, like, everything's fine, you look beautiful. I don't understand how people don't see that as confusing or potentially confusing for a little kid. And sure, one video might not be that big of a deal, whatever, but how is that breaking generational trauma? Same with her breaking out screaming at her kids when she's overstimulated.
There's a lot of sounds in here. Be quiet. Be quiet, please. Stop. No. Everyone.
You're still overstimulated. You are still giving off that energy, that angry, annoyed, tense energy, regardless of if you're singing or screaming at them. They can still feel that. So you're not breaking any generational trauma. You're not helping them learn how to regulate their emotions or co-regulate with you because you are still high-strung and off the charts. So at the end of the day, whether you label those interactions as negative or aggressive or sarcastic, kids can't tell the difference. They can't pick up on those subtleties. And what was the point in it? What did she offer her audience as a, look at me, look how good I did? No, you didn't do anything. You just didn't snap at your child. There was no value added to this conversation. It was really just purely exploiting her daughter. She didn't correct the behavior. She didn't reconnect with her child because, camera directly in face. And this poor kid is being groomed to perform when the camera's out anyway. So she's likely not hearing anything because the camera's shoved in her face and she's just like awkwardly standing there waiting for it to be over and for her to be dismissed. So she's not absorbing anything that her mom is actually saying. She's bracing herself for impact and realize, oh, I'm not in trouble, and hopped away. So what was the point of that video? To confuse her child? To teach her audience nothing? But no, it's to receive that praise, that external validation that she desperately wants, that she is searching for. You're such a good mom for not snapping at your child. And as her kids grow, they are going to realize this, that no matter what, their mom just seeks external validation on the internet. So she's not really a parent to them, or her priority isn't to be a parent to them. It's to look like she's a good parent so that people on the internet will compliment her. And that is such a sad existence for those little girls. And that brings us to our final discussion of this video. We made it! Which is going to be talking about exploitation, consent, and boundaries. She is one of the worst family vlogging exploiters that there is. Her children's only existence is to make content for her audience. Every meltdown, every moment is filmed. The camera is always on. The girls are not able to just chill out and be themselves because they are groomed into performing for the camera. And she overshares and posts their most vulnerable moments at a time that they just want to connect with their mom. And I showed the clip earlier about her complaining about her daughter having an accident, complaining about something that her daughter can't control, and feeling guilty about it. Could you imagine being that little girl, growing up with that on the internet? I honestly could not imagine if my mom posted something like that about me on the internet. For millions of people to make herself feel better, she posts one of the most embarrassing things a child can go through, potty struggles and accidents, to get external validation from strangers. And that's the only reason she posted it. That moment was probably deeply personal, and the kid probably feels ashamed about it. And on top of that, she admits in that video to snapping at her daughter and shaming her daughter for having an accident that she can't control. So now we have to think about how the kid is feeling, because not only did her mom shame her for it, so she's embarrassed and feeling awful about it, but she posted it to the internet for millions of people. And do you honestly think that that kid's gonna grow up and be like, yeah, mom, I get it. Thanks so much for sharing that about me. I understand how it was super helpful for your audience, or helpful to make you feel better. Thanks, mom. No, she's not. She's going to grow up and be absolutely mortified. These girls already have to grow up with their mom having zero shame on her platform, parading around in diapers, half naked, bloody pads on the floor, and all this cringy, disgusting content that is going to be weaponized against them by bullies. Now you have this added layer of embarrassment and shame. And then we have the boundary issue and the oversharing. She posted a video of her infant daughter during a diaper change and was labeling all of her private parts in an attempt to teach her child about consent and about boundaries. I shit you not. That was a video that Nika posted to the internet and quickly deleted because she got a lot of backlash. Because is that not the most ironic thing ever? You're posting about consent and boundaries, a child who cannot consent to being posted to the internet, and boundaries, you're changing her on camera. What boundaries are you discussing here? What are you trying to teach? And I'm so glad that she was forced into taking that video down, because shame on you, Nika. You should have never posted that. And I don't know how she posted that to the internet, not realizing that it was the most disgusting and ironic thing on the planet. How can you possibly sit there and post a video that your child did not consent to, talking about consent. You exposed her during a diaper change. It doesn't matter if you didn't have the camera straight on it. And I don't know how she sat there talking about boundaries when she crossed every single effing boundary that exists by posting that video and continuing to post her children and exploit her children. Which gets us into the conversation about consent. Do these kids consent to being posted on the internet? Do they understand what they are consenting to? No, of course not, because half of it is scripted, so they probably don't even understand what they're actually saying because it's not actually their words. And second of all, there's this video.
No. I'm not taking a picture. I'm not taking a picture with that. I'm not taking a picture of that. No, don't take a picture of the duck. She's not from you. It's not the fly.
Where her daughter is actively withdrawing consent and being ignored during it. And in my opinion, her saying, no, mommy, just love me more, and those moments that happen is her withdrawing consent. She doesn't want to be filmed. She doesn't want to be taught. She wants a hug and a genuine moment with her mother. And the last thing I want to touch on a little bit is them staying together for the kids. There is a video of them on the couch together, and of course it's probably all scripted, whatever. And they're sitting there, body language completely closed off, angry faces, and then they show their daughter who's across the hall and looks distressed in my opinion and says the only reason we're staying together is for the kids. Now, if that's the case, those poor girls. Imagine the guilt they're going to grow up knowing that their parents stayed together despite hating each other, despite toxicity and fights and cheating and all the things, they stayed together for them. That is not sustainable, and that's not modeling healthy relationships. And this probably should have gone in the relationship section, but it's also kind of a parenting fail, so like here we are, because like I tried to be organized, guys, I'm sorry, but this was so important to include, and I almost forgot to include it. But if you look at her, she's visibly upset and she's looking across the room at two people who are pissed off. Everything is off. The body language, the facials, the vibes probably in the house, and staying together for children. It's, I thought, common knowledge, but apparently not common knowledge, that that's not the best thing, especially if it is a toxic relationship. Because if that is the only reason that they're staying together, then they're basically admitting that they don't like each other anymore, which means that there is constant conflict in the home. And children don't need to see and hear that. What is that teaching them? That's not teaching them healthy boundaries. That's not teaching them a healthy relationship. That's teaching them that no matter what, you have to stay, even if it's toxic, even if it's abusive, however you want to label it. That's what it's teaching the girls. Again, this do as I say, not as I do, doesn't work. And on top of all of that, she's posting this to the internet for an audience, promoting that it's okay to stay in a toxic, unhealthy relationship because it's what's best for the kids. When that's not the case, how is their father cheating on their mother and her staying with him in their best interest versus two people amicably separating, working out a custody plan and getting along? It doesn't make sense. It's such backwards logic. And to overshare such private, personal struggles and moments really is just, it's just bad news bears. Some things need to be kept private. Again, we circle back to, I understand wanting to break stigmas and wanting to normalize the uncomfortable stuff. This, her platform, is not the way to do it. She is not promoting healthy boundaries or respect or trust or literally anything good because of how toxic her entire platform is. It is alarming that more people aren't talking about this and more people don't see through this facade and see just how insane it all is. regardless of if it's all scripted or all genuine, because she tries to have it both ways. And I think the only reason she tries to have it both ways is, again, to skirt any accountability, to skirt any wrongdoing, because she can just, oh, it was just a joke. That was a lot, guys. I think we've made it to the end of the video. I hope I didn't forget anything. And if I did, I'll add in some updates and stuff like that while I'm editing. But this is going to be like 3 hours long because this last section was also an hour long. So I think I got to get to editing. At least I already have all the receipts and all the stuff. But let me know your thoughts, because I think that she just has such an incredibly toxic platform, and at the same time doesn't realize how incredibly toxic her platform and her behaviors are. And that's almost more scary. Let's be realistic here. At the end of the day, most of what she's doing, scripted or not, just isn't okay. It's too far. And we can't accept the normalization of unhealthy behaviors or abusive behaviors. That is not a place that as consumers of social media, we can be and accept as content. And it's wild to me that more people haven't caught on to her. I feel like we're at a point that people think that this is normal because you have influencers who are promoting it as normal and brainwashing people into thinking that these kinds of behaviors are normal or okay or jokeable. And it's just mind-blowing to me. Thank you so much to those who stayed all the way through this. I know it was a long one. I appreciate you. I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world. Please don't forget to like this video if you did enjoy it, and share it with someone who cares, and subscribe before you leave. It really helps boost the channel into the algorithm, and I appreciate it at the end of the day. But yeah, I'm ready for Christmas, and I'm ready for a break from Nika because she sucks, and I don't want to consume any more of her content because it's awful. It's just awful. But you guys are amazing, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Bye, guys. Oh, and Merry Christmas. I don't know when this is going to be posted, but Merry Christmas or Merry just past Christmas or something like that. Bye, guys.